o'clock, okay. And so we have, yes, I see that we have several ECH colleagues here, as well as patients, cultural journalists from the Soweto Live newspaper, who has been incredibly supportive of our program, and we want to thank you, patients, for the write-up that you have given today's event. We welcome you, and I think Jabu, great to see you. A number of lovely participants in the ECH program are also here in attendance. Judith Roger, who is also on our advisory circle, and SF Ho here on the screen, also from the ECH advisory circle. Lorraine is also on our advisory circle, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of the Embassy Culture House here in London, Ontario, but you are all coming to us from various locations from across Canada and globally. And we really appreciate you taking this summer afternoon, it's pretty hot here as well, to be with us. And as we usually do in all of our ECH programs, we will begin with a land acknowledgement that Lorraine, who is coordinating this event for us through her and taking on the initiative, and we really are grateful for the technical support that you are giving us, Shelley, as a contributing editor and also as a really important overall contributor to the Embassy Cultural House.
We acknowledge that this is sacred land upon which we are privileged to live and work. We recognize the deep connection and the long-standing relationship between Indigenous peoples and the land of Southwest Ontario and of London. This place has supported human beings for at least 10,000 years and is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape, the Attawandaron, and the Wendat peoples. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. And just to let you know, Shelley is working on her PhD at Western, and this has been coordinated with our partner, the Arts and Humanities at Western University here in London, Ontario. So I'm really, really happy to welcome you today, and this program has come to us through Lorraine Klaasen's engagement and involvement with the Embassy Culture House for over the last year, but we've known her now for a few years since she made her move here to London, Ontario. And we are thrilled to have her ideas and energy and spirit brought, and the beautiful music that she creates, and all the links and musicians that she has brought into the Embassy Culture House community. I did notice in the clip that you were going to open with before we begin the panel that there's a billboard that marks 20 years ago, August 9th, 2001. So 20 years ago, anniversary for today, that this panel is taking place, which is very historic because it is also 20 years since the, in September, that the adoption of the Durban Declaration and program of action. This declaration at the United Nations initiative that took place in Durban, South Africa, is the most comprehensive declaration in relation to equity issues, anti-racism initiatives, and all issues addressing any related intolerance. So to think about, when we think about the work that we're engaged in as a cultural community here in Canada, and being able to make these extraordinary connections with Lorraine's community in South Africa, as well as in other parts of Africa, because actually Lorraine today is coming to us from Nairobi. And I just want to welcome you, Lorraine, over there in Nairobi, and pass the mic to you, and just take on all this, the beautiful momentum of the work that you have done over the decades here in Canada. We're extremely pleased to have this opportunity to bring this panel together for our community. Thanks, Lorraine, and take it away.
Thank you all so much for being here. As we know, there are different time zones. Others are in South Africa, others are in the Caribbean, others are from London, England. So others from Toronto. I see his brother Zeb join us now from Toronto, and from Los Angeles, and from Florida. So we really have so many from London, Ontario, of course, from Ottawa, from Montreal. So we have quite a few friends who are here from all the different parts of the world. So there is a different time change. So this is why we're going to try very hard to accommodate everybody and make sure that everybody gets a chance to maybe want to ask questions later. But we're going to open with the short video. I'm not sure, I'm hoping everybody that is here have seen the film documentary, because it kind of make it easier if you have seen it, so that if you make a comment, at least your comment will be in conjunction with why we are here. But if you did not get a chance to see it, it's going to be online and up on the ECH page, so you can always review it at the time that is convenient for you to do so. So we've got a little clip that will just take us there, and then we'll continue.
Let's go to Africa, ladies and gentlemen.
Music is in us, it's our culture. Even if you do, whenever you do your washing, you find yourself singing something. When you have to bury somebody, you have to sing. It's just music.
Well, as you could say, it's just a very small taste of these fabulous women, and that I was able to capture their lives. And this documentary is like women in their own words. So you'll be able to hear them tell their stories in their own words. And I thought it was important. I was very privileged to have had this opportunity to bring my mom and these women, because all of them have since passed away, except one, Auntie Abigail Kubeka, who is still standing. And I just thought, there's so many sad things going on around the world. Let's just find something that is positive and happy. And let this young South African women, or women in general, in this particular case, I'm saying South Africa, but look at these women who were friends were the age when they were teenagers, and they've lived alongside each other, all of them in different singers and performers, but the mutual respect that they had for their art during the apartheid era, and how they stood, and they all passed away at the rightful age of late in their 80s. So it is quite remarkable for us to do that. And of course, I have a personal interest in doing so because of my mom's legacy. Think about it all the time. And so I thought, why keep this thing shared? Let people see who these women were, and they telling their stories. So without any further ado, when I was preparing this and I brought this to the attention of the ECH board members, and they said, Lorraine, it's a great idea, but August, it's a holiday, people want to go away. I said, but in South Africa, the 9th of August, it's International Women's Day in South Africa, but in North America, it's usually the 8th of March. So since I'm also already in Africa, I'm in Kenya, Nairobi, let's just do something. And I was very fortunate to have Patience Mambelele, who always is there in every time we have something that we need the public to know. So I had so many comments that friends, even in South Africa, that saw the article that came out in our local newspaper, the Sowetan, and a very well-known paper that is for our people. And they made wonderful comments about this article, and that, Lorraine, you keep on doing what you are doing. So, but I'm thinking, okay, they moved, they did their past, but who were the other women that also inspired me when I came to Canada? And I do have more than the 4 that I brought in here, but there are so many, and I don't like to call everybody by their name, but I have to call out on these 4 women, well, 3 in particular, but 4 with me, that really inspired me. And I wanted to publicly acknowledge them and thank them. And what's amazing about them is they are doing incredible work, even up to now. So I thought about Helen Blanchett. Now, Helen Blanchett, she's one of our panels that I've asked. She'll tell you the story, because I don't want to talk about me. I'd like her to tell the story, but it just showed how this woman who never knew of me, I came into her office and she dropped everything. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to manage you. She put her money in me. It's a story always gets me very emotional, because sometimes it just takes that one person to believe in somebody. And Helen, I want to publicly acknowledge you and tell you that I'm so proud of what you've done for me in the 80s. But when I read about your accomplishments, even today, I know that that's the reason you were the woman that you are. And I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and honor you and give you a platform to tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now I have a little bit of tears now. I mean, yes, the day you walked into my office, I just literally, it was a sunshine walking in my life. It was beautiful. It was this powerful sunshine, beautifully dressed, of course, that walked into my office and, determined that she's going to, make it, and this powerful force. And I just looked at her and she got me at hello, really, she got me at hello. And all I could think of is, I would just think of all I want to do with her. And at the time when she walked into my office, I had just started to be a, band manager and artist manager. And I was still even green, before that I was in corporations. And I did drop everything and just said, let's do it together. And she had these grand ideas that have like, I remember we used to have like, I don't think it about 10 musicians and 16 dancers, and we were just conquering the world. You even introduced the Gambu dance. Remember when you
Gambu
first
dance, yeah.
the Gambu dance in Montreal on stage at the Club Soda, and it was like this big production. So we had these huge production. We just kept on going, and then nothing. We were like these two women force that were just really like, just unrolling everything. And we even went all the way to do the halftime at the football game. I mean, there was nothing that could stop us. It was an absolutely wonderful chapter of my life that lasted for several years. And yes, I did have to find another job because it was we couldn't make enough money to really sustain us. But we, even then, when I decided to go and work for Xerox, because Xerox had offered me a job, I continued to manage Lorraine for at least a year and a half or 2 years. And juggling with the two, because I just couldn't let go. And of course, as all of you probably know, because all of you have known Lorraine, she just becomes a friend, a sister, a someone that's in your heart and that will never die in my heart. She's one of the most important person in my life, and I admire you. Lorraine, one of the things I noticed when I watched the documentary, because when I watched the documentary, one of the things that it was like a trip to memory time. Your mother, Tandy, that I loved so much. And I know that it was reciprocal because Tandy had such a big heart and she was such a powerful woman too. All of the flashback of that moment when Tandy, the first time we brought her on stage in Montreal, if you remember, Lorraine, we brought her on stage. Nobody knew Tandy. They knew Lorraine, but they didn't know Tandy. And she says, my mother, Tandy Klaasen, and Tandy comes in on stage and hits the first note and got I think it was like 8-minute standing ovation. Yeah. It was incredible. We all had tears in our eyes on the power of her voice that came out, and that she was just an extraordinary woman. But one of the things I noticed too when I watched the documentary, Lorraine, is how you positioned them as, these amazing and powerful women, but you were their equal. You are their equal now. In my opinion, you were standing at the same level as them in this whole documentary. So you should look at yourself also as someone who has succeeded and has that power, that powerful resilience and that powerful emotion and drive and positivity that just never stops. And, now I know you for, I don't want to say, but at least 30 years. And it's like an endless energy that continues. So the movie just brought me back, the documentary, which, by the way, was so well done and such quality. Congratulations, because I know that you were one of it was your concept in producing part of this really good documentary. And I mean, one of the things that I remember vividly from the documentary also is that statement when they said, black and white is like the piano, and it shows together and it makes beautiful songs. And this is something I believe from the bottom of my heart. And, when I looked at the visuals of the apartheid that were in that documentary, I was so emotional. My husband was, because I had headset, my husband was going, what's going on? And I said, it just, sometimes I almost feel ashamed of my skin color when I see that other people could have done something like that, right? So it's something that I believe strongly in my bone of the piano. We are a piano, and I'm so happy that we are a piano. Yeah. Now, Lorraine, it was easy to help you, but it is in my nature, it's true, to help women as well. It kind of continued that legacy of helping women all through my career, because I think women are an extraordinary force, and I'm not taking anything away from men here that are present, but I've lived 10 years in Asia. So I was an executive for Xerox, and I became an executive at Fuji Xerox in Asia. So I was the only woman in a Japanese leadership team. So that was an interesting part of my life. But I lived in Singapore and traveled Southeast Asia for a long time, met extraordinary women. And it's a lot of the countries are, ascending countries or developing countries, and there's still a culture of dominance from the man, and you have, but when you lift the veil of some Indonesian women, and when you meet in the house of a Japanese woman or a Korean woman, when you meet people and you start really getting to know them, the power of these women and the extraordinary force of these women, which I find even stronger than any North American women, simply because what they have to go through or what they have to conquer to be able to even have that same level of resistance and resilience and be a power machine in surviving in the world is extraordinary, and makes them even more interesting. And the most interesting women I've met in my life are all these powerful women. And I always say, if women would stop working tomorrow morning, Asia and Africa and probably a large part of North America would fall on their knees completely, because they sustain the economy, they sustain everything. And one of the shock I had when I moved to the United States, because I'm Canadian originally, I'm from Montreal and Canadian, and when I moved to the United States 5 years ago, the shock I had on the polarization is not just with politics, it's the polarization of men and women, and like group of women and group of men, and women are still like like a second-class citizen almost when it comes to trying to get equal pay or equal jobs or equal, and you go, really, in 2021 we're still having these conversations, right? So it's important to have to all this to say that it's important to have these moments, Lorraine, that you provoked here, to just acknowledge how much women have to be strong and resilient to really make it into this life. And I've tried to help every woman I could, breaking barriers, breaking ceilings. And in the last company I joined as a leader, I dedicated the company and helping women. So we were helping women that are rescued from human trafficking and giving them a life after, with all the care, the education, the moral support, and the healthcare support, and most importantly, giving them jobs that they can earn a salary and then gain their dignity, their own dignity. And so I've created an alliance with International Sanctuary, who once the women are rescued, they are going to the sanctuary, and they get educated, and they learn to make all kinds of beautiful jewelry. There's sanctuaries around the world. One is in Uganda, actually. And I also created, it was a wellness company, so it was about women. So we were encouraging women brand into our marketplace. Plus, we had women, a specific group of women as affiliates. And my entire team were women, simply because, we wanted to really, really help women grow and break through, because in every industry, they are, like even when there's investment, for instance, in companies, often they are neglected from it. So this year I did win an award as Woman of the Year, and I'm very proud of it because I won many awards. I did win several awards in my life, in my career, and I'm proud of all of them. But this one, I'm very, very proud of them because, as it says to appreciate on how I uplift women through leadership. And it's because of the work I'm doing in trying to help women that I got this award, and that's why it's to me one of the most valuable awards I've received in my life. So thank you, Lorraine. I appreciate everything.
Your story is remarkable. And just for those who also join us a little later, I think what we're going to do with the ECH, because like I said, our time is so constrained, we will have the panels bio. So if people want to learn more about the individuals, they could, because it's not so much that we could put in a short period of time, but we could try to condense it. So, we'll be able to try to include as many people as possible. I see somebody that who's also here, Helen Henshaw. I want to salute Helen. Helen Henshaw, me and her were the producers of this documentary. I'll give it a chance to say something maybe towards the end there, but it's nice that you could join us, Helen. Played an important part, very important part in making this film happen. So the next person I'd like for her to introduce herself to you, Nandipha Ndhlovu is actually my brother's daughter. She's currently in South Africa right now. And so Nandipha is my inspiration. Nandipha, don't do that. When I look at young people who've been through so much, and how they triumph and come up and to be where she is today, never complaining, never have a bitter spirit about her, despite all the hardships and tragedies that she went through. Today, she's one of the brightest, not because she's my daughter, she's one of the brightest young women by her perseverance, by her endurance, but she always used to say, my mom and me are her mirror, because she lost her mom. So never underestimate the power when you have young women in your life, that they see the things that you do, because someday they will say, you were like my mirror. I would like to acknowledge Nandipha, who is here. Tell us about your story. And her grandmother, Lorraine Klaasen, my mother, is her grandmother. Welcome, Nandi.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. No tears tonight, absolutely no tears. I'm going to give you a very quick bio about myself and tell you what our Women's Day means to us as a South African. So I am a young and very happy mother of two little teenagers that are basically ruining and running my whole life. I have a company called the Health and Skin Oasis. It's a medical practice. I've got 3 branches, so I am trying to go nationwide. So I am a very happy entrepreneur trying to push, and that's my passion. So essentially, today was a very emotional day for me because I was sitting with my girlfriends and we're talking about what does Women's Day mean to us as South Africans, and why is it something so special to actually talk about? And if we get back to where it actually started from, in 1956, there were 20,000 women who marched our union buildings and basically went there to go and speak out against apartheid and unjust laws, especially towards colored women or people of color rather. And from that, we now have an annual day to celebrate and say, women, stand out, be loud, because you mean something. Then we take it back to now in 2021, and we look at facts like the Women Danger Index that basically has South Africa rated as the most dangerous country for any woman to live in. That was mind-blowing to me to say, after all our fighting, how can we still be here? How can we be so unsafe? And it was rated according to your safety, to your intimate partner violence levels, to gender inequality, to GBV. And it would make one really down and like really gloomy to think, how can we still be facing such horrible inequalities, right? But I put it at a crossroads to say, I can choose to rather be a victim and say, boo-hoo, poor me, and I'm faced by so much strife and so many bad things happening, or I can choose to look at people like my grandmother, Nandipha, look at people like Abigail, Dorothy, Sophie, and say, how did they overcome what they overcame and became victors? So I take that as a lesson in resilience, strength, and really putting your all into everything that you do, because you are a woman, and you use that power and you make sure that you are victorious over all these strifes and everything put against us. I mean, I had so many times when I could just given up and said, oh, well, I'm a widow, I've got 2 children, I was still studying, I had all odds stacked against me. How do I pay for my life? How do I survive? But I chose to take all those lessons and I chose to be a victor. And that's why I celebrate Women's Day on a daily. Today is one of those special days marked by everybody else, but I personally celebrate on a very daily basis. And I look at my role models, I look at my aunts, I look at my grandmother and my mother, and how can I fail when all I have are pillars holding me up? And that's my take on Women's Day. Thank you.
Lorraine, you have to unmute.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
You have to unmute, Lorraine.
Lorraine, your microphone is off.
Oh, this mute, unmute, thank you. Good thing by now we'll get used to this, and we still can't. No, what I meant, what I said in the beginning, what I loved what Nandi did in her introduction was to be able to give the picture of in South Africa, why is it people are doing that and where it stemmed from for people of South Africa. So I thought it was a wonderful introduction, Nandi, starting in the 50s, how, you know, women said enough was enough. But it's very sad that we still see, even like, I think Helen Blanchett mentioned that on the onset, that even with today, you still see that the abuse of women are still there. It's those things that people always dominate somebody. There will always be somebody to dominate. But I just thought it's nice to have a positive view and outlook for a change. Yeah. And again, for those who join us a little later, this documentary is online. You can watch it. You can make a comment. It's a story worth telling. I'm not going to hold any of stuff like that hostage so that nobody could see it. Nobody's making money of it. We're not selling it. It's just sharing this work of these women with anyone who wished to see it. So I just thought I'd clarify that again. So this next person that I have on the panel, her name is Sheila Woodwell. Now, what do I say about Sheila? Again, Sheila is like the sister I never had. She's been, from the moment we got to know each other, she's been part of my family. And she would travel, and every significant thing that's happening in my life, she would fly wherever she goes to make sure she's with me. And I just love her to pieces. But I'd like her to tell us about why she thinks this day is important and what the documentary meant for her. Sheila?
Well, thank you, Lorraine, my dear sister, for that wonderful introduction, and thanks to the Embassy Culture House. What a privilege to be part of the celebration of National Women's Day in South Africa, and to think about those legends of Madiba who paved a way for us women. And, you know, I have to be very honest with you and admit that I was a very privileged young white woman growing up, young girl growing up in South Africa, born late 50s, growing up over the 60s, a time when apartheid was deeply entrenched in South Africa. And, you know, being aware that my home area, my school, everywhere I went, everything was restricted for whites only. I never had an opportunity to even make friends with people my own age of other races until the age of 17. And I attended a multiracial camp, which was extraordinary and groundbreaking at the age of 17, my final year of matric. And made some friends of other races. And we started breaking down barriers and visiting each other's homes and churches and, even restaurants and concert halls. And I mean, this terrified our parents, of course, who were very worried about us going up against the system in South Africa. But this was a monumental time, because in that same year that we all met, the Youth Riots broke out. It was 1976. And we went through that whole experience together on the phone every day, me hearing about the tear gas and police beatings, and us white children were kept under very strict eye at home. But I insisted to my parents I had to go and practice the pipe organ in the church in the middle of the city of Cape Town. And so off I went, really wanted to try and be part of all this protesting. And I will never forget, you know, ingrained in my mind is that memory of police running after children with whips. And I wrote a letter to the Cape Argus that was printed shortly thereafter, protesting against the police brutality. Life went on. When I was at university, I joined the Women's Movements for Peace that opened up for the first time in Cape Town, and became a chairwoman. And we, as women of different races, spent time in each other's homes. We worked in crossroads squatter camps. We wrote protest letters to the government, sending petitions to them. And you know, by the time I had a job, I was still teaching in a school that was for whites only. That's all we could do. We weren't allowed anything different. But I remember those slogans on my car: equal education for all. And you know, that struggle just kept going. And by the time I started studying for my doctorate and I had 2 small children, I stood in that line to vote for Nelson Mandela to be president in 1994. And how incredibly exciting that was to be able to have our first truly open democratic elections. And when my children started going to school, the schools were open to all races. So we actually achieved this in my lifetime. It was so incredible to be part of that history and see those changes. So one of the things I was doing as a young music teacher, having studied music at university, and been in concerts and had this privileged cultural life all my life, was to try and reach out and help young Black teachers who hadn't had the same education that I'd had. And so we put on workshops for them. I ran multicultural children's festivals where children playing marimba bands and singing African choirs, or in orchestras or jazz bands, any culture could perform. And I happened to go to the City Hall, which had previously been for whites only, and I saw Lorraine Klaasen performing on the stage with the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra, and I was completely mesmerized. She was stunning, these long braids sweeping around on the stage while she was dancing and singing. And I thought I wanted to come and inspire these children at my next festival of children's music. And I managed to get her contact details and phoned the home in Eden Park, and was sadly told that she just left the previous day to go back to Canada. But the sweet voice on the end of the phone said to me, "Well, Sheila, I am Thandi Klaasen, and I will sing at your festival." And this is how it all started. And I said, "Well, Thandi, that's incredible. You know, I can put you up in a hotel or you can stay in my home." And she said, "Sheila, I am coming to your home." And so she did. And so started Thandi becoming part of my family, and meeting Lorraine later over the years, and Nandi, and so many of the rest of the family. And you know, at that concert, there were some blind children performing, and they asked afterwards, "Can we touch your face, Thandi?" And she let them. She let these blind children touch her face and feel the scars from the burns. And she said, "I am beautiful, am I not?" And these children said, yes, Thandi, you are so beautiful. And those same blind children I worked with for many years, and they performed for Nelson Mandela. And one day he was walking, after performing, he was walking off the stage waving. And I called out, trying to be polite, President Mandela, these children are blind, they cannot see you. And he stopped dead in his tracks. He walked over and he shook hands with each of those children. And they said, Miss Sheila, I'm never going to wash my hands again. It was just delightful. And another time, I worked for many years with children in the townships, hundreds of children, giving them music tuition. I employed a lot of dance and music teachers through a foundation. And at another performance where Mandela attended, he walked up to my son and daughter, who were really quite small then, and said, are you two in charge of this function? And we just loved his sense of humor. Anyway, time went on. I ended up teaching in the United States, went to Florida, and I invited Thandi to come and stay with me and perform in the USA. And so she did, and she just blew people away, especially with her song Sophia Town that you saw on the video. That just breaks people's heart, because she was 16, when Sophia Town, she had been a singer in those clubs in Sophia Town from such a young teenage age, and she personally experienced all that horror. So you can really feel it in her songs. You can feel that suffering of the people. I took her to some local schools to talk to the children, and she said to them, they can burn my face, but not my voice. And I took her to the local hospital in Florida, in Tampa Bay, and she gave hope to those young children who'd suffered terrible burns. And all the hospital staff and myself, we were just in tears as she sang to this woman who was bandaged head to toe after having severe burn from her caravan. And she sang, I did it my way. And, she inspired so many people, young women to be musicians, burn victims, throughout her life. Thandi has been such an inspiration. So is Lorraine, so is Nandi. It gets passed through the generations. And then I brought her again to California when I became a professor of music at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. And, Lorraine and I went to pick up her mom from the airport, and there she was in a wheelchair after hip surgery. But she came anyway, and we got her to climb up my stairs and get better again in time for the concert. And wow, that was just blew people away. There were all the staff from the South African embassy and the consulate in Los Angeles. They all attended. There was a huge audience. They were on their feet dancing in the aisles. And Thandi's story is just so touching. It reaches the hearts of people all over the world, wherever she is. So, I'm just so grateful to have Thandi and Lorraine, Nandi, part of my life, to be able to help open doors for musicians all over the world. I've had the fortune of being president of the International Society for Music Education, and I'm now executive vice president of the International Music Council. And, we stand up for the rights of people all over the world to practice music. And there are countries in the world where women are being denied that right, where girls are being told they may not sing after the age of 12, where they're not allowed to study music at school because, that's what maybe their leaders are saying. And so we are fighting for the rights of women all over. And, I'm editor of a journal, and I've just recently read an article about African DJs who are migrating around the world and getting jobs as DJs, but they find that men are the gatekeepers. They have to go through men to even get a performance gig, and they don't get paid as much as the men. And even when I was a teacher in the 80s, I didn't get paid as much as the men who graduated with me. So we should still be facing this today in 2021. So let's keep fighting. Let's keep that inspiration of these 5 incredible women and pass their legacy on and keep that struggle going. So I'm so inspired by all of you and all your great work, and congratulations, Lorraine, that you perform all over the world and you bring so much joy and happiness to people all over. And we're just so grateful for you and for these great women. So thank you for that inspiration. We salute you.
Yeah. Well, nice story, Sheila. Everybody's got such a wonderful story to tell. Like I said, I see Helen Henshaw here, and it will be just appropriate for her to be able to say a few words. Just for you guys to know that our time, we have to be out of the Zoom and about 8:30, and that's the extension. So we're going to try to be brief. Like I'm saying, if anybody really want to extend what is it they want to say, they can always write something to the ECH, and it will always post your comments. But I just thank you, Sheila, because it is incredible what we've been through, Helen, Nandipha. And so Helen Henshaw, I'm going to make a brief introduction to her too. So she also lives in Hudson. And so when we talk about, I want to do this film documentary, Helen was the person that we got together and to make this thing happen. So I'll give you a brief introduction, Helen, so you can also say a few words. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have to say, it was a real privilege working with you and with the ladies to do this film. I mean, it all happened so immediately. They were coming over, the 5 ladies were coming over to win an award, to receive an international award. And so we started filming right away as they arrived from South Africa, when these gorgeous women appeared coming off the plane, but beautiful finery, very elegant women. And then we just started filming right immediately and followed them through in Montreal and then back in South Africa. And I have to say, there are 6 stars in this film. There are the 5 ladies and you, Lorraine. You were all remarkable women, and their inspirations, the resilience they showed, and they working to, how music helps the people get through, how their music helped the South Africans get through the terrible, turbulent years of apartheid. And I'm so glad to hear the words from Sheila and Helen and the rest of you to keep the fight going, to fight for the rights, and carry on with the inspiration that you see these ladies provide in the film. And it sounds like the next story might be working towards getting these women to be able to play, sing, in these different countries that you talked about, Sheila. That's inspiring. To perhaps we could do another film.
Yeah.
And carry on.
Yeah, this is the whole idea of connecting. Actually, between me and Helen, we haven't spoken in a long time, but I think the some of the footages that you have, we probably could make 10 more documentaries, because it was very hard to edit everything out with what we're able to capture. And this is why, on another personal note, and I'm looking at my own daughter, who would have thought a daughter of an immigrant like myself coming to Canada today will be a diplomat representing Canada in parts of the world, So I don't take anything for granted. I am privileged, and I think my mom played a very important part as to who I am. And my faith is a very important part of knowing that even God created women not to be abused the way people are being abused. It's men, people who are doing things, So I continue to do what I love to do. I see Sarah Onyongo's there, who's been just so incredible, always making sure that the arts and informing everybody of the things that we do. I see Patience Mabel. Are you there, my sister? This is Patience. I see she's muted, but she's the one who, every time I have something, she says, "Sis Lorraine, make sure you send me something so the friends in South Africa can also read about it." But it's good to have women, but it's also good to acknowledge the men. I like to acknowledge my husband, Jabu. For those of you who don't know, I've never met him. That's a handsome guy over there.
And Lorraine, I would like to acknowledge Juan Bello, who's joined us, who has created a number of documentary films, who's located here in London, Ontario. Among them is Maria Felix, a documentary on Maria Felix, and also the film Juan. Can you just say a few words before you go? I know you have a meeting at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think the film that you were talking about is The Queen of the People, is La Reina del Pueblo. It's a film about the first elections in Venezuela, the first democratic elections in the 1940s. And recently I've been working in El Salvador with survivors of the Civil War. And well, that's some of the work that I have produced, and I'm looking forward to learning more about Lorraine's work and maybe, helping to, continue working on the promotion of her work and in general of, South African music and the legacy of all these, great creators that probably we here in Canada are not that familiar with, but I will be happy to help with your future projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
Yeah, it
I'm
would be
really
lovely.
pleased that you could join us
Also.
today and that you got to meet Lorraine, at least this way, and when she returns to London, Ontario. And you're only a couple of blocks away from us, Juan, so we'll have the opportunity to have an in-person visit.
Yeah,
Helen,
there will be many chances for sure.
For sure, yeah. And so many great stories that are connecting all of you. It's really been an extraordinary experience. Helen, I'm glad that you were able to join us. The initiative that you made in terms of this film in 2003, and I understand it was screened at Hot Docs in Toronto. And the fact that it's a treasure. I mean, it's just an amazing archive for us to revisit, and we are really privileged that it has been made available only through the Embassy Cultural House website. So I really appreciate this support in this way. I also want to acknowledge Ron Benner, the co-founder of the Embassy Cultural House as well. And we've been working, as I mentioned earlier, with a number of you in various ways in terms of visual art, and film, and music, and poetry, and writing, all across the disciplines. So I find this has been a really inspiring and powerful panel. And I'm so glad that Lorraine, that you brought this to us. We are so privileged.
Excuse me, this is why I was saying, I was speaking to somebody last year, and anyway, something came up that I not necessarily want to talk about it, but and I was thinking, I said, you know what? Let's do something positive. Who were these women? So this girl didn't even know who. She said, oh, your mom's Lorraine Klaasen. Oh, the other one, they don't know who these women were, So I just thought to myself, it's not so much about those of us who already know who they are, but the younger generations, even in South Africa, they say, oh, that was their time. They had their time. It's now our time. Let things go. But we are riding on the backs of the women who plowed it. And we have to recognize, we are who we are. For those of us who have inherited this gift of music. I have been singing Ndhlovu Makeba songs for so many years, and I want that and I know I want that really because I am Lorraine Klaasen, but I think it's out of respect that the world has for Ndhlovu Makeba as well, and recognizing her work through me. So these women have paved the path for us. So it's important to be able to plow back. I like what in the documentary. Again, I'm commending everybody, please go have a look at it, it's online. What I like a quote that Sophie Mgcina made, she's always so bright. And she said something like, these music that we have, these are gifts. We used to sing and somebody would say, the white people or men would say, who's gonna pay money to come and hear you sing? You are nothing. Who's gonna pay money to come and see you sing? Imagine. And she said, imagine at that time too, you not only are a woman, You're being discriminated against because you're a woman, because you are Black, because you're a performer, because when you sing, people think like it's not a job. We're just tickling people's ears. You know, I've made a living out of my work, and I'm very happy to be able to, you know, acknowledge this wonderful gift that I've inherited from my mother. And I'm not shy, and I'm not being pompous. I'm not being proud about it. I'm acknowledging this wonderful gift that I've inherited. And I've never been selfish with my gift. Every time I have an opportunity, not one time would you come to my concert in Montreal, there you see it's me, myself, and I. As Helen Blanchett mentioned at the onset, I had like 10-piece orchestra band. We paid for the costumes, we did the gumbo dancing. I mean, I taught, you know, nonstop, money that were coming out for ourselves because I had that passion. And I can understand people who got no passion. Be passionate about something, whatever it is you do, just go out there and do it. I've seen Swakes out there too. My sister Swake is also there from South Africa, listening in. I know some people, it's maybe late, they don't want to show their faces. Esther, Vincent, thank you. You're also there. Fern, I see my brother Zaeb, who's also, they used to hire me for the Nelson Mandela when I performed at the Sky Dome. It was through them that they brought me to Toronto. So there you are. Thank you so much. Would you like to say something, Zaeb?
Zaeb, you're mute.
You know, there's just that one story that I always think about, you know, and is amazing. We had this event called Mandela and the Children with 45,000 young children in the Sky Dome. And Thandi was performing. And then Madiba was sitting on the chair there. And then Thandi walks in. Oh, sorry, Lorraine was performing, sorry. And then from the back comes Thandi. And Thandi starts singing. And Madiba looks at her and he just stands up, you know, on the chair. It was just an amazing, you know, thing that happened that night. But, you know, the children were just amazing, the 45,000 kids, you know, with that event that we had, you know. Okay, that's all that I wanted to say.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody, I'd like to personally also thank Olivia Masuto, who's part of the ECH team. I know your work, but I want to publicly thank you for your hard work. You did an amazing job in putting all this together, the last minute emailing everybody and checking up on us. I want to thank you. And Shirley, thank you so much also for making our Zoom link available for us to use through the University of, University of?
Western Ontario.
Western Ontario, that's it, yeah. So I want to thank you. Nandi, my darling, may God continue to bless your efforts. The spirit that you have within you of never having a spirit of complaint is an incredible blessing that you have. People see you coming, you walk in a room, you remind me of my mother. Every time I look at you, it's like I remember my mother when I used to say, when I grow up, I'm gonna be just like my mother. And I see your elegance and your style, taking care of those two boys, never, ever complained. It's a wonderful gift. And if you do complain, it's probably in your prayers to your God, Jehovah, alone, and you pray to him. But for people, you have a way of just making them come. And let nobody tell you, you set the bar too high. You go for it. You set your standards. And for my daughter, Jessica, who's listening in the other room, I said, Jessica, you are here in Kenya. I came to Kenya. You were in Kuwait. She was in Paris. She's now here. It's a big mission that my daughter has. She's got 10 times more responsibilities than she had at the other mission because Africa is so big, you know, so much more responsibilities. I have my other daughter, Lydia, whom I love very much, who's right now breaking down the house, is doing all kinds of things to better her quality of her life with my grandchildren. And then we have another daughter, our daughter Jabulina, who's at the University of Waterloo, and she's also doing environmental engineering. So women, again, I'm going back where I say the women in my family. My granddaughter is one of the smartest girls, I must say that, in school. She always reminds me, I am smart, and she is smart. So women have, we played a very important role, and music played a very important part in the struggles and the liberations of the people of South Africa, not just women, but South African music men as well. So, I don't know if anybody feels free, if you guys want to say something, you can raise your hand and make a comment. I saw this Eunice Molefe was one of the first ones. She's also from Johannesburg, who was able to join in earlier on. So we have about maybe 15, 20 minutes left, so please feel free.
Nandi, go ahead. Nandi.
1 minute.
Oh, I think Alison has a hand up.
Oh, okay. Alison can go first.
Go ahead, Alison.
Thank you so much. I apologize for not having my camera on, but I couldn't miss this moment because my first encounter with Lorraine was when I was a student in Montreal at Concordia University. My sister was a big fan. She was always talking about, you have to see Lorraine Klaasen. She's fabulous on stage. And so I went, and boy, she did not disappoint. And really, it began from there. She just blew me away, and I knew that Barbados would love her. So I called, while I was at the concert, I called a promoter for our jazz festival and told him about this fantastic, magnetic performer that would just light up Barbados. And she absolutely did. I went back home, I was director of culture, and I brought her in for one of our national festivals. And our Prime Minister is a big fan of hers. And she has continued to ignite everybody in Barbados and indeed the Caribbean. She's performed throughout the Caribbean. And what is really magnetic about Lorraine music is magic, but the person is just absolutely enduring in a very meaningful way, and she touches everybody that she meets. And so for me, as you celebrate all of the strong, beautiful women in South Africa and across the world, I think the important thing for us to begin to believe and continue to do is recognize that the transformation begins with me, and it begins with the next person that we touch. I'm now the director of a national transformation initiative in Barbados, and this experience in this hour has really reinforced the power and the absolute majesty. I look at all the faces that I can see on screen, and I must give a special shout out to Dr. Nandipha. She's equally magnetic, Lorraine. So yes, it's clearly in the genes and the DNA of your family. So congratulations on celebrating all the good that exists in you as women in South Africa, but across the world. Let us never tire of doing what really matters, and never underestimate the power of a small group of committed people. We can make that difference.
Very nice. Well said, Alison. Very well said, yeah. So does anybody else want to say something? It's not just women, if men want. You want to say something, Nandi? Go ahead.
A very quick thing. All I want to say is thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this platform. Thank you to the ECH family. Thank you to my newfound global family. I'm the maybe youngest person on this whole platform, but I have honestly learned so much from all your personal stories, all your personal memories of how you got to actually feel the love of music and to just celebrate who you are as an individual. So thank you. I really do feel honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandi. I also want to acknowledge Matthew Dawkins, who is on the call but not on the screen, who is one of our contributing editors and is in the program, in the Arts and Humanities program at the university, at Western University, and has helped us with the social media and getting the word out, working with Olivia and Shelley. So Matthew, thank you very, very much. If you want to come on and say a few words about your experience working with us and going forward with Lorraine in different capacities, we want to say that we are hoping to have Lorraine on another panel in November. On Words Festival. It's the Art and Literary Festival. We'll be working with the Public Humanities at Western, and that's going to be in November. So we're looking forward to putting Lorraine together with Matthew Dawkins as the moderator and sub poet Lillian Allen from Toronto. And we're putting that panel together with Matthew. So he's been doing an amazing project for the ECH that is recognizing the activism and solidarity that we are a part of in relation to the George Floyd project. Matthew, are you there? Do you want to come on for a moment and just say a quick hello to Lorraine?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, thanks so much, Jamili. I can hop on super quickly. I mean, I don't want to take too much time here.
yeah, so Matthew is international student from Jamaica.
Yeah, but I'm in London right now. But yeah, I mean, Jamili, you summed it up really well. In ECH, I've been working as a contributing editor, and my main kind of project I've been working on is the George Floyd project. Whereas in the kind of 1-year commemoration of his death, we kind of wanted to look back at how his death kind of impacted not just the Black community, but especially the Black community in London, what activism looks like in London, what artists, especially Black artists, are doing, and how we kind of come out of that very socially and racially intense summer, and how we're kind of using that power and manifesting it into our art. So going into the Words Fest panel, we're really looking forward to inviting Lorraine and a bunch of other artists and really important people to also like get their perspectives as well and kind of bring this online George Floyd project to a more in-person live conversation. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that, but yeah, that's basically it. And it's been great working with ECH so far, and I'm just really blessed to have this opportunity and really, really loved listening to this panel as well. So it's been amazing overall, 10 out of 10.
Well, we look forward to meeting you in person, Matthew, again, this pandemic. And I just want to say, I was reading about the vaccine and the relationship to the inequity of the distribution of vaccine, and obviously how it impacts communities in Africa for sure. And I was reading this essay by Nalita Pandor, who wrote that if Nelson Mandela were alive today, having been born into a life of struggle that has given momentum by global solidarity, he would most certainly urge us as humanity to rise together in solidarity.
Yeah. Yeah, that is nice. I see Nswake's got a hand up. Nswake's got a hand up, Nswake. Oh, there she is. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Happy Women's Day, ladies. Good evening and good afternoon. I think it's in the afternoon there. Sorry, I just thought I'll just say hello, everyone. And Lorraine, thank you so much for creating this platform. And it was so inspiring listening to Sheila and Nandi. Nandi, you know, every time when I think about you and I see you, you are such an amazing soul, and what you went through, I always tell my daughters that you have to look at Nandi, you know, and take all your difficulties and run and make something out of it. And thanks to your amazing aunt, Lorraine, you are such a great friend. You are such a great human being. You know, you always want you always want to see other people successful, you know. So with, you know, having said that, I'd just like to say, carry on doing what you are doing. You are doing a great job. And I think Austandi, wherever she is smiling and so proud of the work that you do globally. You've never stopped. I mean, you've been out of this country for over 40 years, but you have not forgotten where you come from. You have not forgotten your culture. And I love the fact that even that you went all out to make sure that your daughters, they understand who they come from and they understand our languages, which is very important. So I love you, my friend. I love you, my sister. And I'm saying, great job. Thank you so much. And ladies, thank you so much for all your inspiration. And we keep going, hey? There's a lot of work to be done for us women, you know, to achieve every success. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's very nice, and Swaki, for your comment. Sarah, would you like to say something? You're such a Sarah Nyong, I don't know if she's there. I would like for you guys to hear her voice, because she truly does not just belong to one group. She is just this phenomenal lady that says something good and always encourage anything she would read about something. She's positive with the comments, and I just want to put your face behind her name. Where is she? Hiding again?
I'm actually, wait,
You're
no,
hiding.
I'm here, but I'm in the
there you
dark.
are.
I'm in the dark,
No.
that's why, because of
And I'm in your country. I'm in Kenya.
and I'm really mad at you, Lorraine, because my family is there.
Well, I'm
And-
still here for another week.
And my mother, if you meet my mother, you will understand where I come from. And you will see that there's a sort of similar relationship between her and myself and you and your mother, and how our mothers inspired us and gave us that strength and just that dignity, you know, to go through the world a certain way. The generosity, the warmth, the humility as well. So, but no, really, Lorraine, I mean, you know, I'm a big fan. I've been a fan from the minute I saw you. I don't even remember when it was. It's been so long. I loved South African music, but you made me love it more, you and your mother, Mama Thandi, because you guys, when you sing, it's the soul, it's the very soul of that country I love so much. And it's all the struggles, all the beauty, everything in your voices and in your music. And as someone who does radio and who works so hard to try and promote our African, well, yes, our African,
You really do.
our African artists, you know, sometimes it's really hard because trying to find the quality of what you do, you and the musicians who you work with, and what your mom did, it's very difficult. You guys set such a high bar for a lot of other musicians, even musicians who came before you, who've been in Canada for many years. Just the attention to detail, your performances on stage. I mean, Lorraine, when you come to Gatineau, people are still talking about that last concert in Gatineau to this day. And that was how many years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have
And
to say something, not to cut you off, because just before we leave, this is very important. Sarah is also one of those the women who used to say to me, "You're performing at the Montreal Jazz Festival. You're performing. You have to perform in the Ottawa and the big auditorium, Lorraine." And she pushed and she pushed. And I don't know how this happened. One time I got this booking to be able to perform, and my
the
thing was
Ottawa
sold out.
International Jazz Festival.
And then
yeah,
Sarah goes,
it took me
I
10
make
years.
sure.
It took me
10
10
years.
years. 10 years.
I thought that was so funny. I thought that was
Well,
a good
I
thing.
cried when they told me, because I just couldn't believe, after 10 years of begging and pleading, and just because they would bring Hugh Masakela, Oliver Mtukudzi, Selailo Selota, and all these Southern African artists. And then I tell them about Lorraine Klaasen. She's right there in Montreal, and she plays the Montreal Jazz Festival. What is wrong with you people? Why do you not bring her here to Ottawa? She has an audience. She has a fan base. well, we've never seen her before. We've never heard her. I said, listen, bring her the one time, people will be begging you to bring her back. And sure enough, had it not been for the pandemic, I'm sure you would have been performing last summer and this summer again as part of the Canadian showcase. But really, thank you so much, Lorraine, for what you do, the way you promote not just South African music, you promote African music. I've seen Senegalese artists with you. I've seen Ghanaian artists with you, Togolese artists with you, young artists, older artists, established artists, up and coming artists. I mean, you're like a one-woman African music promotion machine, and you really deserve much more, like a much bigger platform in Canada than what you have. Seriously. I mean, you should be on TV, for example.
No, I don't
nationwide. No, nationwide. So I need to work on CBC for that.
You go on working.
Watch. Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you so much.
Great
Sarah.
listening to you guys.
Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate your coming on and the tribute that you are making and all the activism and work that you do. Yeah, really, really fantastic. So we'll have to have you come on and join us at another time. That'll be so wonderful, Sarah, if we could make that happen. We are just thrilled with this panel and everyone that has joined us today. Any further comments from anyone before we sign off? You've been an amazing, Jabu, for sure, come on.
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to appreciate all the ladies. You are such an inspiration to us as men. And one other important thing I wanted to mention is that I was raised by my grandmother. And my grandmother is a woman. She played a very important role in who I am today. Therefore, to give you an inspiration and also an encouragement to all the ladies, keep doing what you're doing. For us as men, we have to hear your voices in order for us to respect you. If you keep silent of what is going on about gender violence, about all kinds of discrimination without coming up and voicing up your opinions or your voices, we men, we wouldn't be able to know exactly what bothers you. Therefore, you are also teaching us a lesson to listen to you. And it shouldn't only end up in platforms like this. It should be an ongoing struggle. Promote yourself, stand up for yourselves. Because we as men, from my own experience or from what I see around us, we still suffer from that men chauvinism and everything else. Therefore, it's upon you guys to stand up for yourself. And through platforms like this and other platforms too, you're doing a great job to let us, to conscientize us, to make us aware that this is who you are and you can stand on your 2 feet. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thanks, honey. And it's so nice because now my husband knows how you all feel about me and who I am because he knows the joker. But it's, marrying my husband from South Africa at a very late age in our time. But I always said, I come from far. We all come from very far away. So it's important, like Jabu says, to have our voices made known. And for the last comment I'd like to make it's still far away, but on October the 5th, I'll be celebrating in Montreal my 40th year in the music industry. And so that's going to be an incredible concert in Montreal, God willing. And there'll be other artists that I've performed with that I've shared the stage with, who are in their own right now doing very well. So I always take the initiative, like Helen Blanchett said. I started to promote myself, do what I need to do. Instead of waiting for somebody to hire me, I created. Helen Henshaw, they will tell you, I've got shows I used to go, how many tickets, Helen? 10 tickets. How many tickets you want? 5 tickets.
Yes.
Every time they see me coming in Montreal, they run because they know tickets, you know. But I had to do that, you know, and like I'm saying, that's where I came from. That, you know, that with self-promotion. So it's not waiting for somebody to do it. You've got to take the initiative and do it yourself. And not much has changed. I continue to still do that. Even now, you think that I shouldn't, but I still continue to do that. So Helen, I'll be calling you 10 tickets. It's only $40. 10 tickets once in Montreal. But it's going to be a wonderful event. I'm having my producer coming. I already got the theater. It's going to be filmed. It's going to be something.
Location, Lorraine, you picked the location.
Yes, it's going to be, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's already, it's at the, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, my brother, Hassan Law lawyer here in London, he's just asked what's the venue in Montreal.
Yeah, the venue, because I'm going to,
he's taking time out from, his work
to come in. Yeah, that's going to be a great con. The reason I didn't want to mention it before, because there's too many things happening, you know, like there's another festival that's going to be on Zoom on the 3rd, 14th, so that's just too much. But this is my baby, the one that I'm doing.
And please check the Embassy Culture House events page for updates and things that are coming up, because this is a free service for events within the community. And we like to be able to give that support from all across different parts of the world, as well as inside our own community here, which is obviously all across the world, which we're very pleased to be able to say that our community is intergenerational. And Lorraine, you and your mother, and Nandi and Jessica, and all of you, your grandchildren, I mean, this represents that kind of intergenerational dynamic that we are so happy to have as part of the really central focus within the Embassy Culture House. That connection is one that we share as a community here during our programming. And so I really want to emphasize that you are a really beautiful example of that intergenerational dynamic that we care so much about. And there's so many of us who are following in the footsteps of our family members, of our elders in the community, so in our family. I want to thank you, Esther Vincent, for joining us today. And your mom was a great inspiration, artist here in Canada, Bernice Vincent, whose page is up with the Embassy Culture House and was a strong supporter throughout the decade that Embassy Culture House participated. We are an artist-run center. We are a not-for-profit, and we have partnerships from all across the country. So I want to emphasize that respect that we have for all of you, and that we believe in the principle of payment of artists' fees, honoring that principle. It came out of London, Ontario, here in terms of the visual arts in 1967 and 68. So those senior artists are people that we are close to in terms of that relationship. So you're going to get your check in the mail. Make sure that it's the mail, or if you want it by, only those in Canada, e-transfer. The others, we have to figure out how we're going to do that. But that is a very important principle I want to emphasize. And this is being made possible through the contributions of people in this community who want to see the Embassy Culture House continue and do its programming, either online or in person, and support other kinds of initiatives, people like Lorraine and the rest of you, all of you who share the values that we have, to work in solidarity and collaboration. That's really, really key to us. And so, that's it for us today. This is our final program for our year. What a way for us to take a break. We are excited to recharge and come back online with our programs, many projects coming up in the fall. There's about 10 projects lined up for us to tackle, but we need some time out to recharge our batteries. So really, really grateful for you all joining us today. And I wish you all a safe and healthy summer.
Yeah. Thank you, Sis Eunice. I saw Eunice Molefe. Thank you, Sis Eunice. You're all the way from Johannesburg. Thank you so much for
Eunice,
being for
Eunice, do you want to give us your last a few words to send us off?
Yes, thank you so much, Lorraine. I'm a publisher based in Johannesburg, and I was born and brought up in Soweto. And each time I'm with my granddaughter, I always said to her, you know, Amina, I don't know what story to publish, but I was with her during the entire program. And when I mentioned, you know, in between breaks about Thandi Klaasen, I've never seen her so fascinated. So, and it actually made me realize that I have stories to tell. I must just look around, and I'm 67 years old. So I must look around on the women that did this for us. And for me, Lorraine, I'm inspired that I knew Thandi Klaasen. I know about her story. I'm of that generation that I grew up under with. So I owe it to fellow African women to write this beautiful story. And your mother was inspirational. Your mother was, she was inspirational.
Yeah.
So we do have stories.
Yeah, I think our time is cut off, but thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to have more information, like go right to the CH, you can talk, you could, you know, communicate. Everybody has a chance to interact with each other, and we can share our ideas. And this is again about sharing, you know, women moving forward, doing what we do best. But at the end of the day, having positive comments, just niceness. I want niceness. You know, there's so many bad things happening. Everything is just so negative and not good. So we want positiveness, you know. And so again, for your time, Helen, I love that backdrop behind you. I don't know who's that gorgeous woman is there behind you there, but I see a beautiful woman there behind you. Do you know who that is? It looked like Lorraine Klaasen there behind you.
And with Thandi here. No,
Thandi there too. But really, thank you. And Jamalee, you know, thank you for your generous time. Tariq is not with us, but I know I'd like to publicly and personally thank him online, because behind the scene, he was also very helpful. And we wish to meet each other in the flesh someday. But in the meantime, this is the forum, unfortunately, that we are using. So please be safe. Continue not to take this COVID thing lightly. It is deadly. We've lost many good friends and families. So take the precautions, don't be overly confident, and so that we could be able to break bread and maybe get a hug out of each other again. So I'm gonna still be here for another week or so with my daughter, enjoying this beautiful Kenya, Nairobi, and creating memories that someday my daughter will be able to talk about. What was it like when we were in Nairobi? So that's
beautiful.
My last note. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good and a safe.
Sheila, Helen, Nandi, Helen Henshaw, all of you for joining us today and giving us your inspiring words to carry us forward till we reconnect. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.